Okay, we are recording. Are you eager to enhance your archery skills and achieve unparalleled precision on the range? Well, join us today on Arch Talk 101 as we uncover the secrets of mastering proper form and hitting the bullseye with unwavering confidence and consistency. So, welcome back to Arch Talk 101, your guide to better archery skills. I'm your host, Roy Canterbury, and in today's episode, we're diving into critical aspects of archery, mitigating common form errors, and we're going to learn how to fix them or ways that we can fix them. We'll cover things like grip tension, anchor point consistency. We'll explore, common pitfalls that, can hinder your shooting accuracy and consistency. So grab your bow, tune in, and let's uncover the secrets of mastering proper form and hitting the bullseye with unwavering confidence and consistency. So we're going to start off with this is lesson 11, and it's podcast number 178. We're going to talk about how to mitigate common form errors. So let's start off with the first I'm going to do. Here's the strategy number one is grip tension. That is something that you see a lot of archers having problems with, especially you see white knuckles, they have that death grip on that bow because the bow ain't going anywhere. So uh, begin by consciously checking your grip tension during each shot. Make sure you're not gripping that bow. Before you draw, take a moment to ensure your hand is relaxed, with your fingers gently curled around the bow. I see a lot of them try and take and curl the fingers, stick them beside the bow. Well, now just to try this, let your hand just completely relax down at your side, or don't put any tension. Just let your fingers do what it wants to do. Just hold them, and it's going to be just something kind of just relaxed. Now, what are you going to do to curl them fingers to put alongside the bow? You got to curl them in there, so you got to have to partially make a fist. So now your hand's not relaxed anymore. Now, if you have a tendency to grab that bow when you shoot, that's something you're going to have to consciously, think about when you shoot. That hand, it does not move; it just goes forward. And well, you'll eventually get that. But as you put that tension to put your hand on the side, it does force your hand to be a bit more in a proper position. But now, just try this. Turn your hand so it's nice, comfortable, and curl them fingers in. Where do you feel the tension? You feel the tension all the way up your arm. So that is affecting the way your bow is going to shoot. Now, if you can do that consistently every time, but one time you might be a little different. That completely relaxed is the best way to do it. So you want to take and incorporate some relaxation exercises into your pre-shot routine. So what I do is, we talked about this before. You can take that deep breath and exhale and relax. As I'm putting my bow in, I got a little loop that I put the bottom limb in, the bottom cam in, and then I open my hand up. So I open the hand up and then just let it curl around it. As I pull a pressure on the string, I'm open up, and that gets it into that position every time. Now then, I don't grip it at all because I got pressure on my hand. So now I take my pressure point that I'm going to use on the bow. That's the part of the hand between the little finger and the thumb, between the two meaty parts. I got pressure on it as I come up. It stays in that one position. Now the hand's completely relaxed. I'm focusing on pushing with that point on the hand. So you want to do whatever you need to relax your hand and your arms. The more relaxed you are, the more consistent you're going to be, and the less tension you're going to have. You're not going to get as tired. Now, you can experiment with different grip styles. Find out what works best for you. What works best for me may not work best for you because of, we don't have the same body. We have different bodies. We're all different. Everything is different. So you're going to have slightly different. Even though I might teach everybody the same way to start with, that doesn't mean that is how we're going to end up doing it, what works best for you. So, like I said, I like to open the hand, get that grip in there, let it relax. That keeps you from doing a nice, if you have that bow in your hands, you're carrying it around, you're kind of gripping it, but that's not how you want to shoot it. So you want to, experiment with different ones. Find what works for you. Maintain a balance and control, without grabbing too tightly. That's the whole thing. Now, you can practice holding your bow, at full draw, without shooting. Focus on maintaining, that relaxed grip, through the entire shot process cycle. from draw to release. So this is where shooting, we talked about this earlier in a previous one, shooting with your eyes closed or shooting blank bales. So now as you're shooting, there's no target to hit. You just have a backstop. You're close enough, you can't miss, and then you're safe. So there's somebody around either watching you, or you're safe that nobody can come in. And you're going to draw back with that hand relaxed. And you can feel if that hand is relaxed with your eyes closed, because all you're focusing on is that hand. You don't care what anything else is doing at this time, because now you're working on just the grip tension. Are you gripping? Do you feel any tension in your hand? Is it completely relaxed? So now then the shot goes process goes off. Are you gripping that bow? That's why I like a sling, because with a sling on, you cannot drop that bow. You can let it drop and it's going to hang off the sling. So it's not going to, you're not going to have to worry about it. Now, if you don't want a sling, they got the thumb slings that wrap around your thumb and your finger. And then it's just a little string on there that it won't let it come off your hand. So that's something that you can do. Um, you want to use what they call tactical cues to remind yourself to relax your grip. For example, place a small foam ball or sponge between your palm and the bow handle during practice sessions. The goal is to maintain enough pressure to hold the ball in place without squeezing it. Um, so that's something you can try. It's an idea. I actually haven't tried it, but it sounds like it could be something that could work. Just different ideas. That's what I think is what can you do to help you out so that you get there. Now you're not going to do that every time you shoot. Well, you could, uh, but probably not going to. But that's one thing. The other thing is you'll visualize a relaxed grip. So this is something that you can do. What you're thinking about is what you're going to do. You can actually, without even putting a bow in your hand, you can go through your whole shot process all the way through visual, with your eyes closed, go through the whole shot process and everything. You're feeling every little muscle movement, every little tension, everything going off, your hand going forward, and then visualizing that arrow hitting right dead center of the X. You can do that kind of practice no matter where you're at. If you don't want to go and actually go through your hand motion, just picture your, in your mind, watching your body like you're taking a video of yourself shooting, making that perfect shot every time. Just keep visualizing that. And that is something that's going to help you out a lot as far as figuring out what you have. And if there's something doesn't feel right, especially if you're doing this actually going through the physical motion as well, something don't feel right, like it goes off and your hand doesn't feel like, then go through and say, okay, what wrong, and then think about, okay, this is what it's supposed to be like, this is what it's supposed to be like. So go through that and visualize that. And finally, you need to be patient, because it does take a while to overcome, like you got that death grip on that bow. I've seen archers pick up that bow and their knuckles are turning white. They have such a tight grip on it. It's like they're afraid the bow's going to get away from them or something. You don't need that death grip on there. Even when you're carrying it around, you don't need that death grip. And just take, if you all of a sudden you're shooting and you death grip, and now then, okay, your knuckles aren't turning white. That's a good step. The next thing you go just one step at a time. You may or may not be able to go from death grip to perfect grip in one time. So go ahead and celebrate those little small victories as you're going along. The idea is to get a little bit better over time, and naturally it's going to be an instinct. You're just going to grab your bow, you're going to go, and you're not going to think about it. You're going to go through the whole process, and it's like, oh, that felt good. What did I do? So you can go through and just kind of visualize what's going on, and if something didn't feel right, then go ahead and make it change, to where you have something that you think is going to work. So the next thing I want to get into is the bow shoulder alignment. That is, that shoulder, how's that lined up with the bow? And then, as far as, the elbow from your hand that's pulling it back, so let's just talk about the shoulder alignment to start with. Begin by focusing on your posture and overall body alignment. before even picking up the bow. Like I said, to visualize standing up, what you're going to feel, what you're going to look like, what you're going to feel like. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed. If you're trying to raise that shoulder up, what happens are those that raise that shoulder up, it's not using the joints to hold it. Your tendons are holding all the weight, and you have shoulder problems. So make sure you drop that shoulder down. So now all the pressure is not on the shoulder itself, but it transfers from the hand, the spot between that lines up with your arm, the hard part between the new meaty parts between the little finger and the thumb. So that pressure is going to go all the way through your arm, through your shoulder, through your chest, all the way back. It's all a straight line. So you don't want to have the pressure on the shoulder. If the shoulder's pushed up, drop your shoulder down. That is going to keep you from having shoulder problems. So that's what we want to do. Make sure you have that all lined up, and that visual technique, having that alignment with your eyes closed, you're going to visualize. And it's like, okay, why do I feel something in my shoulder? Well, it's because you probably have it up, it's tense, it's not relaxed, it's not dropped down where it's supposed to be, so that the force goes into your shoulder and not into the tendons. Now, one of the things you can do is, use some relaxation exercises. You warm up routine. Maybe you roll your shoulders backwards and forward, doing some release in there, whatever you need to take the tension off, bringing your arms up and down, and whatever you want to do to stretch and loosen the shoulder muscles up, that's going to help as well. Reaching one arm across your chest and use the opposite pull, slight pressure, whatever feels good that helps you do it. That's what you want to do. Uh, During the draw, you want to pay close attention to position of your shoulder. This is where you can have a problem. So you start drawing back, and all of a sudden that shoulder goes up. It's hard to drop down while you're at full draw, while you're drawing. Once you're full draw, you can really relax it down, but you want to avoid that if all possible, because now that changes the alignment of everything after your full draw. You want to make sure that stays down. That's why I like to put a little pressure on it so I can get that arm down where it should be. And now, as I'm drawing back, I'm going to be pushing my arm forward as I'm drawing back. And I like to bend forward a little bit. So I draw back and naturally want to stand up. If I'm standing up, you draw back and naturally want to kind of go back. So now you're leaning back. So I like to lean forward a little bit as I'm pushing the bow hand forward and drawing back at the same time. I'm pushing it out using my shoulders, my back muscles, between the shoulder blades, squeezing those together as I'm drawn back. And now that I'm locked into my form, once you get there, you're all there. Now, you can use some visual aids, such as mirrors or video recording. We talked about this early on, recording a video. That's one thing you can watch yourself do. You can monitor what you're doing, what your shoulder alignment is. And you can set your camera up. You can get a tripod. You can get cheap tripods. You can get expensive tripods. I've been using a pretty cheap tripod for quite a while, and we just went out and bought a really nice one. It has, really long legs on it. This thing gets up really high now, so you can almost take an aerial shot. Almost, you can get it up so high, and it has some nice heavy duty legs on it. And then get my camera on there. Now I use my phone for most of mine, because the quality of the picture is probably better than most of your regular digital cameras. We do have a digital camera we can use, but I can record things on there and then play it back and whatever. That's a good tool for you to do it. What you want to do is watch for signs. When you're playing your video back, watch for signs of tension or unevenness in your shoulders during the draw. Watch at home. So set your camera up to just watch your back between your two shoulders. Right there, at that point, you want to break everything down into small little pieces. So we've already worked on the grip, so that we know the grip is good. Now we're going to work on make sure our back is doing what it needs to do, and make sure you get that tension in there. And if you have a shirt or something that you can actually see the shoulder blades coming back and putting tension in there, that would be good as well. I wouldn't recommend shooting with your shirt off, just because sometimes that little protection of the clothes can help out, so you don't scrape across there. But if you're scraping across catching any clothing, you're probably have something you need to change. Um, or you can use mirrors. You can set up a mirror so that the cameras record you in the mirror. So if you want to see different angles, you say you want to see from the front, put a mirror up in front, and that way you can take the camera from behind and show the mirror. So you don't have your camera in front of you, accidentally shoot the camera. But if you have it in the right spot, you can do that. So, just take the different angles, working on one thing at a time. It's like, okay, now I got that one. Let's work the next thing. Got that one. Now let's work the next thing. So that's where your cameras and um, mirrors and whatever else that you have is going to work really good. And maybe you can have a mirror based on the ceiling that comes down and looks down at you from overhead because you can't get up that high. So now you take your camera and shine it into the mirror. So now you can see from on top what's going on. So you can see that alignment. Because sometimes from behind it's not easy to see that alignment. And don't be afraid to experiment with different shooting and draw techniques. So if you seeing something that you're struggling, you're just not able to do it, like we've talked about, experiment. Maybe there's something a little bit different. Maybe the way for you to do it is to, you know, draw we get ready to draw back, push that arm all the way out first, and then draw back, rather than pushing and drawing at the same time. Put the pressure on it, bring it out to the position you want that arm to be final position, and now then you finish your draw with the other one. So there's variations on there. Just figure out what technique works best for you. Um, some archers, will prefer to engage the back muscles more actively, while others focus on smoother, more relaxed draw motion. Find an approach that works best for you to keep that proper alignment, without straining. The biggest thing is we don't want to be straining the shoulders. We don't want to be straining, any part of your body, because that is something that is going to be the problem you're going to run into. You talk to some of the archers that have been shooting for many, many years, and they either can't shoot much anymore or drop their draw weight way down because of shoulder problems, or they've had to quit archery because of shoulder problems. And that's caused by overdrawing the bow, too much draw weight that you can't handle, locking that arm out so that it's locked completely out, which try this sometime. If you're not driving, go ahead and try this. Put your arm up like you're shooting, straight off to the side with a little bend in that elbow, that hand turned out. Now push that arm all the way out so that arm's locked out. What did your shoulder do? Down. Your shoulder's down. As soon as you start pushing that all the way out, what's that shoulder do? Once that arm is locked out, that shoulder is up. It's no longer aligned with the socket. It's above it. So that's something you want to look at too, is where are you at? Where's your draw length? If your draw length is too long, not only a more chance of hitting your arm, but that puts more pressure on your shoulder. So make sure you drop that down. Now we got, some additional tips here that we want to talk about here. So, consistency is the key when working on your form. You're going to dedicate, regular practice sessions, especially focus on your form improvement. Even it means shooting a shorter distance or without aiming, for target. Get close enough to your target to where you're not going to miss it. Don't put a target face on it. Just shoot it a blank backstop, because right there, you're only working on your form. Once the form gets there, you're going to group better. If you don't have good form, you're not going to group no matter what you do. You're not going to get that really good tight group where you're getting arrows touching, or you're getting Robin Hoods and busting knocks and stuff like that. Until your form gets there, it's going to be tough to do that. You know, the other thing you want to do is, um, don't be afraid to ask, for feedback from a coach or experienced archer. I started coaching in '95, so I've coached, hundreds of archers, and help them with their skills to get better and better. And that's one of the things that we can do is when we join the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, upload a video of you shooting, and we'll give you feedback if you have a problem with your bow or something. Don't be afraid to ask us. We're there to help. So that's what we want to do, is help whenever we can. So don't be afraid to ask for help. uh, you want to record yourself shooting with a camera or smartphone, review the footage, to identify any issues. And if you're not sure of what your problem is, that's why I've made the recording. Now upload it, and now we can give you pointers, and then now you can look at it and say, oh, that's what's going on. Because if you don't know what it's supposed to look like, even if you watch a video, you're not going to know you're doing something you can improve on because you don't know. What you don't know, right? That's kind of one of those weird sayings. If you don't know, you don't know, right? So um, us just get those videos, upload them, and let's get through looking at some of these different things that we have. Um, we let's take a look at some of the comments here we've got in here before we get going here. Let's see, Steven says, make sure you have good shoulder alignment. I always draw and open my bow with my arrow on target. So the way is to fixate my shoulders immediately in the right position. Good point there, Steven. Um, let's see, what do you think about using a sling and a full open hand technique? Steve, that's exactly what I do. I use a sling, and then my hand is completely open. I don't grip the bow at all. When I shoot, that bow does whatever it wants to do. And some of the older bows, it actually jump forward and hits my fingers. And I had one time I almost dropped the bow because I didn't have a sling on it, and I forgot there was no sling on this bow. And I shot and I almost dropped it. It hit my fingers, and then I remembered, oh, there's no sling on here. So I had to hurry up and grab the bow before I dropped it because I don't grip it at all. That's what I prefer to do is use a sling and a completely open hand, complete open, relaxed. That's going to be the best way to do it. And if you've seen any of my videos, that's how I shoot. I have a sling. Now, one thing on a sling, you don't want to have that sling that's tight on your wrist because that's just going to affect it differently. Depending on where your wrist is, it can change it a little bit. So I have it just loose, and I can drop that bow will hang down like 3 or 4 inches off my hand if I go ahead and let the bow drop, and it just hangs off the sling. Um, I like the cloth ones. I don't like the rope ones because they're a little rougher on my hand or my wrist. Kind of grabs that hair and kind of pulls it. So I like the little soft cloth ones. They're not so rigid, but I like those a lot. If you see it in my bows, that's what I have on mine is one. So all my bows have slings on them, and I shoot completely open hand. If I did not have a sling and I'm shooting out of a tree stand, I'd make one shot, go pick up my bow off the ground because I don't hang on to it. It just completely relaxed. So I depend on that sling to catch my bow from falling to the ground. And if I don't have a sling, it's going to hit the ground. And you don't want to drop your bow out of a tree when you're up 10, 12, 15 feet. That's not a good thing on your bows. So yeah, I do like you said, I do use a sling and a completely open hand technique. So that is um, that's how I do it. Okay, and Steve's gonna actually tell the truth. I've been shooting 2 years now without the sling. And in the beginning, I dropped my bow several times, but now I make a sling by pushing my index finger to the tip of my thumb and making a ring around the bow. It actually works quite good, and I prefer it like without having this link. Um, oh yes, I'm a trained archer, by the way, Roy. You, we need you as a mental coach for our team in Belgium for the European champions. Well, we can work out something, Stephen. Um, let's work out something. Get a hold of me, and we'll see what we can do. Um, yeah, that's another technique that I don't really use, but that works pretty well. Is your hand is completely relaxed, and all you do is lightly touch the index finger to the thumb, and that's enough keep the bow from dropping. Unless you have one of the really old bows that wants to jump forward really hard, um, you know, then you might have a little bit more trouble. But that is a technique if you don't want to have a sling on there. But it is putting a little tension in your hand, but not much by moving that index finger just relaxed. I don't know if you can see it on the camera that was looking. You have just relax and just slightly move that thumb and finger together, and that is enough to stop that bow. So yeah, that is a good technique, Steve, where you can do that instead of a sling. Um, I've been shooting without, with a sling and completely open hand so much that that's just I just do it that way. But yeah, that is a good point as well. Um, we can we can work out something. There's different. That's what I say. There's different ideas, different ways. Steven's gone through several different iterations of how he's doing it. Uh, yeah, that's valid. What works best for you now may not work best for you next year or next week or tomorrow. Um, just experiment what works good for you. That was a good point. I hadn't thought about bringing that up, but that's a good point to bring up on that. Is I kind of remember how I do it, and I don't think about those other techniques of doing that, just because I'm just so fond of putting a sling on there, and that way I don't have to worry about it. It's just there. So yeah, yeah. Thanks, David. Those are good comments. Yeah, actually, when we go live in the group, we never know who's going to come in and who's going to talk, but we always have good information. And like I said, if you have any questions, you know, there's somebody in the group that's probably encountered the problem and solved it. So just we just want to make sure be patient with your form improvement. It's going to take a while. Like I say, Rome wasn't built in a day. It took a few more days than that. And neither is your perfect archery form. Consistent practice and paying attention to detail. One of the things you don't want to do is don't um, just keep practicing. I've seen some posts where it says, how's my form? And the answers are, well, practice more. Well, if you're practicing wrong, you're not going to get any better. So you want to make sure you get the right technique that works for you, and just practice that. Now, it might be that you mentally shoot for 15, 20 minutes, grab your bow and shoot for 5. Whatever it takes to help you get better. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in to another insightful Archery Talk 101. I always have fun doing these, and it's always nice to hear some of the comments from different archers around the world. And I hope this helps you in mitigating some of the common errors, and to improve your technique. Remember, mastering proper form is the key to hitting bullseyes with confidence and consistency. you know, Before we sign off, though, I want a quick reminder. You can catch the previous episodes and watch this one live on Arch Talk 101 Facebook group. Well, won't be able to watch it live too much longer because we're almost done. But you can watch the replays there. You can also go out and watch the replays on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. And if you prefer to listen to it, you can listen to it on Spotify. You can also go out to Audible. I've got some podcast lists out there. That's kind of nice, where you just see it playing, and it just, as the new episodes come out, it just spring it up and it starts playing. So that's really good. Like I said, Spotify is a good one. I think the Apple Podcast out there. There's several other places you can listen to them, but that's where I listen to it. My podcast is there. Um, However you want to listen or watch, it's there. You can also go out to archtalk101.com. There I have the podcast there as well. There are other information out there. And, when I find stuff there, if there's something that I think everybody should know about, I'll put it there as well. But the best place is in the Facebook group. Um, that's that's where you can get in there live and make comments like Stephen did today, and that is good. And he's over in Belgium, so we have people all over the world, and I had him on the podcast one time. It's quite interesting. Archery all over the world is archery. Little variations, but it was really great talking to you today. And we'll see you on the next one. And make sure you get a hold of us if you have any questions.